What is up, guys? Welcome back to another match review. And Carlos, before we get into this, I wanted to play a little game real quick.
Okay, what game?
I want to play a little game. So, what do these three teams have in common?
What?
Real Madrid, the Chicago Bulls, and San Diego FC. What do they have in common?
All a bunch of losers.
No, that's not the answer.
What is it?
They all have three-peats. Chicago Bulls won 95, 96, 97.
Yeah.
Real Madrid three-peat. And San Diego losing three-peat. Did you get it? So,
God damn it.
welcome back to another match review video. I just thought that would be a little fun. But
Not for me, it's sad.
yeah, definitely some dark times for San Diego FC fans to go around. But Carlos, besides all that, how are we feeling today?
I mean, great if you take away from the fact that.
Yeah, today.
Well, I think that's what happens. Is it's a whole long week until Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. You just gotta sit in that. But yeah, guys, if you guys are new here, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Check us out on Instagram at Sdfc Bros, and check us out on TikTok as well. Also at Sdfc Bros. We're putting some fun stuff on TikTok as well. So Carlos, once again, I know we ripped off a Band-Aid last week, but we gotta take out this massive Band-Aid this week. So let's just rip it off. So first home game back to back-to-back away games, right? The last two really didn't go to plan, didn't go our way, but we're really hoping to see the guys kind of bounce back, especially in SD at home with the Frontera behind them and everything like that. We're hoping that they would bounce back in this match, especially playing RSL as well, a team that we already beat before.
Exactly.
So before we get into the game, the lineups, what were you kind of feeling like before the game, kind of into the lead up into this match?
Yeah, I mean, when just seeing the lineups, back to basics, felt a little bit more security. Felt, we're home. It seems like Mikey Varas learned from his, I wouldn't say mistake, maybe his tactical vision at the time, just to come back home and start off, with a good structure. Love seeing Bambino back out there.
Yeah.
I mean, we love our Bambino Cocodrilo.
Bambino Cocodrilo.
Yeah. But no, it was good to feel that, to see that. Had high hopes looking into it. And I mean, we were hoping for a win. I mean, we were able to watch the Barcelona game before that, and of course they beat Madrid. And I was very excited about that. So I was looking a lot happier, ready to dive into this, hoping to see San Diego win as well, get both of my teams winning, but
certainly
it's not that.
Right. Yeah, so getting into the lineups, a complete change from Charlotte, right? We had Valkyrie back at striker, midfield trio returns, and then the defense went back to a back four. Obviously, like you mentioned, Bambino comes back from a long-term injury, so getting that start right off the bat was pretty surprising, at least for me. Exactly. I didn't think it was going to happen. And then we saw Kumado back at right back as well. So, yeah, it was very, very strange. But I know in the first couple minutes of the game, you were kind of, on the fence a little bit. You said 1 minute in, you didn't like what you were seeing on that. So I wanted to kind of elaborate, kind of what you were talking about, in the first couple minutes. You just said the guys weren't into it, or they just weren't up to play this game.
Yeah, I don't know. Just for me, at the end of the day, we can look at analytics, we can look at everything, but I think soccer is different than a lot of sports because it's beautiful. It's played with more emotion, with more. I mean, I feel like I could just look into it and see something. Obviously, there's 90 minutes and things change up and down, but it just didn't look like the same San Diego that Kim was coming in and playing at home games before, with the drive to fight and to win. And as we continue to see through those 90 minutes, that's what it felt like. And I think a lot of fans can sit there and say that. I think it's one of those times where it's you are back at home, you've lost 2 games. I think there needs to be a little bit more of an attitude coming into that was not being shown from the very get-go.
Right. Yeah, no, 100% agree with that. And let's get into the first goal. Willie with a misplaced pass, and it leads straight into the path of Diego Luna, intercepting it, and he was just close enough to have at least a touch and then have a shot on goal. And for me, it's I don't think this goal was more so of San Diego playing poorly. I just think it was an individually poor mistake from Willie Kumado. And
100%.
To be honest, it's I think a lot of these goals that we conceded, again, much like kind of what we saw versus Colorado, it was something that could have been easily preventable, right? Because you're talking about, okay, maybe if the structure of the team is a lot more better, then, options would have been more open for Willie to pass to. Don't know where he was passing to. I mean, I watched highlights and everything like that again, and really just can't see an option for him to pass. So I don't know why he's passing there. But regardless of the fact is, I think it's just more so San Diego needs to have a better setup. And once again,
Right.
you know, I'm gonna say that the game plan going into this game was incorrect, and this is the reason why. So in the last game versus RSL, we had Negri and we had Lawful Send, right?
Right.
We eventually took them out because we wanted to inject more pace into the game.
100%.
Henceforth, Bambino, Kumado come in. So it's like, I feel like when you're playing a team like RSL, kind of just have to get them tired,
Right.
and then you hit them on the bounce. So it's like, I feel like when, you know, we kind of go into the first couple minutes in the first couple moments of the game with essentially kind of the guys who have the most pace, Willie and Bambino, I thought had a brilliant first half. I thought, you know, coming back, it looks like he hasn't missed a step. So Bambino, I want to tip my hat to you. But regardless of the fact is, like how I was saying, when you go into the first couple moments with, you know, your fast, pacey guns on the wide, it's hard to kind of inject that extra pace later stages in the game. So
well, no, just even to your point, I think what we saw even again in that first game is we see Bambino and Kumado come in against Real Salt Lake in the first half, and the team's already warmed up. The thing with Bambino and Kumade, you can put them in at literally the 70th minute, and they're coming in with the same ability that our front line is having. And what we've seen time and time again is our front line takes a little bit to warm up.
Very flat.
And so it's a little weird to have Bambino and Kumado in, like you said, right off the bat. When we know the pace that they're going to be aiming at, you're not going to see Chucky, you're not going to see Dreyer doing that right off the bat as well.
Certainly.
It's something that takes, and I mean, I think we would have definitely benefited off of it later half in the game when we're losing, you know, that amount. Because then we put in Might in, we put Chucky in the, and I know we're going a little bit too much, but we put Chucky in the center, and who would have been a great substitution there? Bambino. To help push that up and go forward.
Certainly.
It's just interesting, and I don't know where Mikey Ivadas is trying to go with these things. Again, we're still playing, but and just to your point, you know, mistakes happen. The goal came from a mistake.
Right.
I think when we talk about Colorado or Charlotte, like those are not mistakes that are mistakes.
Right.
Those are
like tactical, technical mistakes.
Yeah, technical mistakes.
100%.
This was just one. It happens. You know?
Right. Yeah, I 100% agree with that point. And you know, shortly after that goal, right, saw a lot more of like a San Diego kind of, you know, playing up to it, right? And in the first half, again, I'll say we played a great first half. You know, despite us, you know, being, you know, at the deadlock, right, 0-0 for a majority share the first half, right? They scored a goal, but then we answered quick with a penalty that we won in the opposition box. Godoy gets pulled down and we get rewarded with a penalty. And I think the best thing that you can kind of look at was that we made RSL make a mistake. Right. And I think that's something that, you know, we've seen a common theme of San Diego FC doing this season is we force the opposition to make a mistake. Right. And this was just one of them. So did you think it was a penalty? I mean, Godoy gets pulled down and everything like that.
100%. I don't think it was a deniable penalty. I mean, we've had so many penalties taken again. I mean, two now at this point that were clearly not. This one's probably a little bit more clear.
Certainly.
We go with that. I'll take it. And again, it's good to have our first PK goal, get that out of the way.
Now, what did you think of Chucky taking the penalty? I know Dreyer was kind of over it for a good little while.
I mean, that's the luxury we have as
what did you think?
That's the luxury we have as season ticket holders, is that we are able to see the little behind the scenes that's going on. But you're right. I don't know if like on highlights or at home you could see, but Dreyer was on that ball a little bit longer, but making us believe Dreyer.
Right, I thought he was going to take it.
Which personally, I think you have a more confident player in Dreyer to take those PKs. So I felt confident, but as soon as I saw Chucky take that ball,
I think I was very nervous.
Right, I think we agreed. We looked. So, I mean, he made it at the end of the day, which just can't be bad. But what does it say in ourselves and in this team?
Yeah, what does it really kind of, you know, when you kind of take off, you know, the happy goggles, or the
Chucky blind,
you know, so it's like he's taking a penalty off of his teammate. Again, I don't know if this was kind of intentional. I don't know if this was some sort of, you know, maybe we're just reading too deep into it. But I mean, from what it kind of looked like, you know, I think Chucky wanted the goal. And I mean, you know, he has the confidence and he has the balls to, you know, take it off his teammate and score. So, you know, fair play out, you know.
No, I agree. But also, what does it say on us that our Chucky's our star player and we're a little not confident in his ability?
Also true.
To take that PK.
Also true.
Where is this scaredness coming
from? Well, I mean, just the last couple games that like we've been kind of going into, he doesn't have that bite, right? And I feel like, you know, Chucky kind of his whole career hasn't really been like that guy that, you know, kind of takes the ball or, you know, like just goes into games, right? Or, you know, would run through a brick wall or something like that. So it's like you're kind of seeing a new evolution of Chucky. I think that's maybe because he wants to be on that Mexico roster in the World Cup. So, he's kind of trying to take a different role to kind of suit the Mexican national team. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just myself and reading in too deep to that.
Yeah, and again, we're 3 games in with Chucky, so we still so much to talk about. But
right, yeah, definitely. So yeah, at the end of the first half, like I said, we ended it perfectly, getting level at the end of that half. And my hopes in the second half was continue this momentum into the second half, and I was very confident going into the second half to think that San Diego FC was gonna get something in this second half, but it was literally the complete opposite. And I know in the second half we switched seats, which wasn't the best idea, to be honest, because there's a lot of confusion, especially trying to watch the game from an analytical point of view. It was a little bit different, but I think one thing is for certain, I love our season ticket seats.
Yeah, I love our season ticket seats.
So what do you think about
331 if anybody wants to see us there.
So what did you think about kind of San Diego FC trying to go into the second half? What did you want to see?
Yeah, of course I wanted to see the team that I always see is just coming out and still fighting for that. But man, I don't know what it was, but even just kind of the start of that game, I don't know if it was the atmosphere in San Diego, but it just all felt so super sluggish, super sluggish, like nothing. And then, I mean, again, our seats were kind of tough, so it was hard to see where that PK was coming from. But again, it came from nowhere. There was really no build-up. There was nothing that was going on. And you just don't see a San Diego that's coming out confident. Right. You see a San Diego that coming out, I got to clock into my job and clock out at the end of this day. It really didn't seem like it was important. And I mean, for us as fans, you're coming back. I think for San Diego at the table also, it's an important game to win.
A must-win game, 3 points on the table.
Yeah, you still stay kind of high in that table area, but it just didn't come out. And you don't see that team come out at half. You just don't. We got lucky by getting that PK, first off, because I don't think we're going to score after that. Without that PK, we didn't score at all, clearly.
Certainly.
And then we come into the second half, and Salt Lake shows up. And not to the level that they needed to show up either. They were trucking along. But San Diego played way worse.
Yeah, I think they definitely kind of took advantage of kind of us not playing up to the occasion and going into that VAR situation, right? I know from our seats it was a little confusing because the game stopped, and I've never seen a VAR check in real life like that, right? So that was kind of my first time. So
wow, I never thought. Yeah, I've never seen that either.
I've never seen it, right? You're seeing it on TV. You're actually seeing referee go up to the VAR. You're having the commentators kind of tell you. So it's like from the stadium point of view, it's a little confusing. I'm not gonna lie. So I see the caveat in why people don't like VAR, but from that point of view, right? Pretty much exactly what happened was that the play kind of was going on, right? Everything like that. And there was a handball in the box, right? From Yepe. He tried to block his face, but he kind of went like that. Right. And it, kind of bounced off. So play resumed, right? Referee didn't see the call or, anything like that. VAR goes into his ear and the play was going out maybe a minute or two after.
Right, exactly.
Referee stopped the game. Oh, I got to go check the VAR. Goes to the VAR and then they go, oh, there's actually a handball penalty. So it was really confusing from the stadium. And then he said, oh, there's a handball offense in the box. So I was like, what the hell, when? So
what the hell?
So very confusing. But regardless of the fact is, I think it was a penalty, right? I think if the VAR kind of tells the ref in his ear that, hey, there's a handball, more likely times than not, it's a foul and it's a penalty.
I mean, we can't be too mad. I mean, it's just a sluggish San Diego that came out. We can't even blame it on the PK. I think we're going a little bit more in depth, but I think the other 2 games you could blame it on the altitude. You could blame it on Charlotte being the best.
Sure.
This game, there's nothing.
There's no excuse.
There's no excuse whatsoever. I can't wrap my brain around it. And then just something that from the first half that I saw too, just getting back there, is just I think what even producer Jasmine was saying is there was a moment in that first half where we are dominating this ball and there's just nothing happening. And it's just you're very, obviously you see this differently, and I agree sometimes to your point, because you're saying they still were moving around and everything like that and playing well. But I think again what happens is producer Jazz agrees with me as well, is what happens is when we don't attack with that much ferocity, the other team is willing to, because our defense is terrible, the other team will attack us, and at that point we do not have the manpower to score and get back.
Yeah, certainly. And kind of just to go quickly back to the first half, right? I just have stats up here.
Yeah.
63% possession for San Diego, so we have a majority share of possession. we had 3 shots on target with 7 shots, right? So 7 shots, 3 on target that whole half, right? 2 big chances created, and our XG was 1.12.
Right.
So it's like we have all the right capabilities of doing well in that first half. Again, it's just about capitalizing on those big chances that we created. 2 big chances, right? You convert those 2 chances, boom, we're already up at halftime, right? So come back complete now, second half, okay, maybe kind of feel it out a little bit, maybe play a little bit more conservative, right? Whatever the case may be, then the whole approach to the game is way different. Then you can start thinking about, okay, substitutions, do I want to keep the lead? Do I want to go on? Personally, I think, keep the lead, just play defense and do that sort of thing. But regardless of the fact is, the first half, I thought we played good. So it's like, for me, it's like, I don't see anything wrong with the first half. We did well to come back into this game. And when you're down in the first half, your goal by the end of the half, get back into it, get level. Right. So it's like, we did that, mission complete. Now, second half, how are we gonna break down RSL? Exactly what we failed to do in this game was utilize our pace out wide. It's exactly how we beat them the first time.
100%.
So it's like, why are we not, kind of exactly going back to exactly how we beat them?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. So let's get into the third goal. So I think that penalty took the wind out of our sails. Right. So it's like, then 12 minutes later we concede that penalty. We concede again. We're 3-1 down. And this one, to be fair, it was a good strike, right? I'm not gonna kind of nitpick on anything.
Crazy, yeah.
But here's the things that I have in mind when this kind of thing was going around. Number one, Willie in this play was so tucked in. He's occupying the exact same space that McVay was already in, and he needs to be wide.
Right.
He needs to be wide, right? Because it's like the exact same thing. What happened was that Willie was in that space that McVay was in, heads it wide, right? Who's there marking RSL player? Nobody. So it's like, that's Willie's position, number one. So I just thought in this game the defending was very lazy, quite frankly. Like, I just don't think that there was any, there was no energy in their step or anything like that. And to put it into perspective, right? 6 games, 13 goals conceded. You're conceding on average a little more than 2 goals a game. So you're asking San Diego FC, you need to score a minimum 3 goals to win the game.
Right.
And we know in soccer, 3 goals in a game is so
hard.
Rare. It's so hard to do. So it's like that alone kind of just, when I read that stat, just makes me a little annoyed, because then that's where the pressure starts setting, right? If you do not play your defense, if you do not, that's why I'm such a defensive merchant.
And I understand
because
that, right?
It's like, when you concede that many goals in that many games, it's unacceptable for one. So, and another thing, it's like when the player, right, the left back, has enough time to take a touch and shoot that accurately, unacceptable.
100%.
So either you need the numbers back to be properly there, or you just need to tactically adjust the team to make sure that he does not have enough time and space to get that shot off. Go ahead.
And I just
before
want
I
to
get to my second point.
Yeah, I just want to add this, because when we're talking about the defense, and this is something that I just believe, and again, throw in the comments if you don't think so.
Sure.
What set us apart differently and what allowed us to play the way we were playing in these first few games is that our attack was so it was so effortless that we had the majority of the game was in the opposing player team's opposition's half. It was on there. Mm-hmm. So they never had the ability of coming into the defense to even test our players. Certainly. But what's happening as these games keep going on, and I don't know if it's Chucky being there, but you start seeing our front three and our midfield become more lazy and let that ball keep going down. And that's where we're seeing our defense, because we were it was like a mirage. It was like an illusion. Mm-hmm. We were playing so well up top. And so
it's because that pressure. When you have pressure, it forces opposition to make a mistake.
And we were having so much pressure in those first few games that our defense didn't have to worry about it. But now we are becoming sluggish, lazy, not making that pressure happen anymore. Almost like, okay, well, we were good. We don't have to do that anymore. And so now what happens is our defense gets completely destroyed. So again, I see Mikey Vada's vision and the right to dream it works, but it has to work every game.
Right.
And if it doesn't, you fail, and you see where the defensive cracks happen. And again, it's like the players become sluggish and sluggish and sluggish.
Yeah, I agree. And this is my second point, and maybe this is just me really being critical here.
Right.
But I think CJ Dos Santos needs to have better positioning on both of the goals, to be completely honest, because I'm looking at these highlights and I'm kind of looking back at the game and everything like that, and he's just so like close to his post, right? He's just off-centered. So it's like, as you know, when I played goalkeeper, right, for indoor and everything like that, right, I just always wanted to be centered so I can dive to the ball a little bit quicker, right, and forcing the opposition to aim for a corner. Right, because if I'm in the middle, right, I'm blocking damn near 75% of the goal. So it's like, you know, I don't want to be like, oh, like, you know, it needs to be better, but it's like, I think maybe I'm just nitpicking here and kind of just being a little bit too critical. But personally, this is kind of just how I see it from a certain perspective.
Yeah, so Esteban, if you're hearing this and you think Vince sounds crazy, please drop a comment.
Please, yeah.
For anybody who doesn't know, Esteban is one of our friends that we met in the Chrome Ball Tour, and he's actually a really good keeper and actually a coach now. So again, Esteban, if you are seeing this and Vince is wrong, 100%.
Am I speaking nonsense?
Please let us know from a real keeper.
Please. No, genuinely. I want to kind of hear like the point of view from like different perspectives, because it's like, for me, it's like I've never really played that high of a level of goalkeeping, right? That, you know, a lot of other goalkeepers have. And, you know, goalkeepers union, you know, get in the comments, you know, tell me if I'm on some bullshit or whatever. So, you know, that's just kind of how I see it. But getting kind of back into it, after that, right, after, you know, we concede again, you know, we're 3-1 down, we saw the subs come in, but I just think that the game was so long enough that we could have gotten something out of it, right? Because at that point, maybe it was only 70th minute around there. So it's like you still have 20 minutes left to play, plus the added time from the VAR call. So you're talking half an hour left, give or take, of solid play where we can maybe grab something out of this game. And again, just so lifeless, flat, uninspiring going forward. And that's all really I could say about the rest of this half. And yeah, RSL did get that red card, but it was just way too late to even, you know, try to capitalize on that.
Even talking about that, our subs, again, coming in so late when we need something to be inspiring and somebody that, again, and this is crazy because we, as fans, we're communicating, we're talking, and everybody has the same Maitin. He is somebody that I think we all as fans can look at and say he brings in a spark that a lot of these players are lacking right now. And it sucks that he keeps getting thrown into these games so late where it's almost like literally impossible for him to do anything.
Right, yeah. So, and I mean, you've seen the impact of him starting from minute one, right? LAFC, bro, he was cooking, bro. He was so dynamic and he was so important for us going forward. And even in these last couple games where it's like, yeah, like we're losing, it's like he still does his best to even try to create just a half chance, right? He still gets in those dangerous areas. He still gets into the final third. So it's like you're kind of asking, what more does he have to do to kind of, you know, put himself in the spotlight to get an opportunity? And I mean, again, I know we kind of looked at it in last episode that, you know, it's going to be very hard to knock off a guy like Chucky off of that pedestal to be the guy. But you know what I mean?
But at what point do we have this conversation? And
no,
that's
1,000%.
That's a real talk. Like, I mean, we're going to our third game. Chucky's back. And I hate to say causation, cause correlation or whatnot. But 3 games in, 3 games Chucky's played. 4 games now, right? 4 games now, right?
Yeah.
4 games now. 3 of those games we've been losing. And we've seen the least inspirational Sdfc that we have seen throughout the season.
Yeah.
And we've seen our B team being more inspirational. We've seen our team be a lot more better without him. So what is going on? And those questions need to be asked. And I mean, I'm sure as the season goes on, they will be answered. But when do we say enough is enough?
Yeah, certainly. I 100% agree with that. And just something I kind of wanted to talk about, and this literally just came to my mind right now, was that the kind of neglect of Tomas Angal, right? Because it's like, for me, it's like I feel like he does kind of give that, you know, he's like a pit bull, right? That's what he kind of reminds me of, right? He kind of gets into those areas and kind of those opportunities, and it's like it really sucks because versus Charlotte, that was his time, but due to events in that game, you know, he had to get subbed out. So it's like now it's like, you know, why not go with a Tomas Angal up top instead of a Valakari, right? We literally just completely reverted back into like, I get not panic mode, but just a kind of safe space, right? But it's like trying to like at least experiment with it a little bit to the point where it's like, okay, we can go back to the midfield three, right? That's a no-brainer.
Right.
But, try to experiment with the front three a little bit. You know what I mean?
I believe we should, and I don't know if Chucky's just playing too much of a I don't know, like an important role, because Chucky, and not to say anything, but Chucky has never been put in this position before in his life. He's always been a second player, an important player, but very off
Make
to the
an
side.
impact off of the bench, right?
Off of the bench, or not even off the bench, on the field starting, but like he's the pass to get in there, he's the play to get there, and I don't know if it's not too, I don't want to say too much pressure, but it is like he's like forcing himself in a
new
role,
role,
right? He's forcing himself in a role that like isn't manageable with the players that we have, and because of that, we lose an ability of Tomas Angal to be scoring goals, or we lose Dreyer, and Dreyer is a good player, but he keeps getting lost time and time again. And I think one of the best examples of what Dreyer can give us is in the LAFC game, where Maitin is on that left wing doing his things, but Dreyer is right there, and maybe he's not scoring that goal, or he's not scoring those goals, but he is still a pivotal power, a presence, and maybe Chuk needs to be put into that role, but.
Yeah, no, that's a very good angle to kind of look at, and I agree with you. So the very, very rare time you're gonna see the SDFC bros agree with this, but yeah, again, kind of just to close it off before we get into the next one, but I don't think we played especially bad in the first half. I thought we were actually quite good, but I just think that second half was just so empty, toothless, and very disappointing, because we really needed to bounce back in this game after three consecutive losses. So now kind of asking a very tough task of San Diego to kind of, play catch up big time. And now looking at the table, right? If we would have won this game, we would have been third place.
Right.
We're in 7th place now after, the whole match week was over and everything like that. And a lot of the things that I was worried about last week exactly happened, right? LAFC got points, and Seattle got points as well. So that was something that we really needed to capitalize on. And very surprisingly, FC Dallas won versus Inter Miami, and Messi, he got dunked on, right?
But they didn't play. Messi didn't play. Just want to put that out there.
Give me a break, whatever.
Just want to say that.
Whatever. So anyways, just to kind of give your take on it, do we hit the panic button right now?
Definitely. I believe so. Like we is our first season. We made a statement for ourselves. I think it's time to hit the panic button. I think it's time for us to be sitting here looking at this and saying, why are we losing so much? Why are we coming home and not winning? And against these small clubs, realistically, small. We should have won against Colorado 100%. We should have beat Salt Lake 100%. It is getting to a dire position, and we only have bigger games to play going forward.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I half agree with you on this one, because it's like, for me, I'm not hitting the panic button right now at this moment, but I think there are some causes of concern to look at and be like, okay, how much more are we going to kind of experiment before we have like a solid starting 11 to the point where it's like we know week in and week out, these are our guys and everything like that. And I know Mikey Vadas wants to, kind of have a proper rotation, but it's like I feel like with the starting 11, it's like you need to have that cohesion and that chemistry going forward with all the players and everything like that. So it's like, for me at least, I'm not going to hit the panic button right now, just because we are still very early in the season. And I think that there are going to be points that we are going to make up, and, the rest of the table is going to, react in that sort of way. But for me, I'm not hitting the panic button yet, just because it's like I still kind of believe in what Mikey Vadas can kind of, do and, kind of change and everything like that. So I'm not hitting the panic button. I think, we're exactly the point of view of what the San Diego FC fan base is, right? You have my half of the fan base, which is like, let's kind of, wait on it a little bit. Let's try to see what we can kind of do in these next couple of games. And then you have your side where it's like, no, we need changes immediately. And so it's like, this is the question I have for you. Do you want to see more changes to see like, okay, what fits and what? Like, do you think like we're putting square pegs in round holes right now?
No, I think what we're doing is okay, but what's happening is like a cancer, and it's not about losing, because I'm fine with losing. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with losing, but what I'm feeling in this team is a sluggish, unimportant feeling. Okay. And I think that is what needs to be fixed. Not that I'm sitting here saying, okay, we lost, like we're a brand new team.
Sure.
What you're seeing is a sluggish team, and it's a cancer. Mm-hmm. Like, and again, maybe 2 games ago, we go to the doctor to check that little mole out. but this is our third game. Like the doctor's telling us this isn't going good. You're not going to wait another week to get that checked. You're going to start trying to get that resolved, because if not, it grows, and it starts off with a little something small and it blows up. And this is a long season. This attitude needs to be checked right now, and it's something that's happening, like, that's different, because this team was not like that. This team was ready and geared up to go. What is changing? What has happened? What is going on? And the only thing that I can point to is I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it.
Right, I hear it. No, and honestly, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. So with that being said, let's get into our match ratings versus RSL. I'm going to go first. Again, I'm not going to go lower from last week, but I'm going to say a 3 out of 10. Again, just for the reasons that we've already explained, right? Lifeless, toothless, and uninspiring. So
right. I go 3 out of 10 as well. Just there was some hope in the first half. But then second half, just like you said, poor, disgusting performance, respectfully.
Let's preview our next game versus FC Dallas, another home game back-to-back. They leapfrogged us over the table. And like I said, after dunking on Inter Miami and everything, they came back 4-3. So they got some crazy momentum going into this game, going into San Diego. So that's kind of just the only thing I'm kind of concerned about. But in their last 3 games, right? Win versus Inter Miami, a draw versus a very good Minnesota side, and a loss versus Seattle. But I think they'll be up for the task in this one to, try to continue our losing streak. So what do you think kind of going into this game for FC Dallas? Do you think that, the message right behind, these last couple games is going to translate into this next game versus Dallas?
Respectfully, I don't think so. I don't think that there's enough loss for them to be caring right now. I don't think that it's important to them right now, and it's something that genuinely needs to be changed, like, drastically. And I don't think the players really. It seems like it's not really that important.
Sure.
For some, it might be. I can definitely start seeing. You could, maybe you can even start seeing Dreyer a little frustration. I'm sure Martin's a little frustrated. There's some players that are coming in, they're frustrated, but I think we lose this one, and I think Dallas is on an up and we're on a low. I think it's going to be a very in between game. It can go either way, but if we couldn't even beat Salt Lake, I don't think winning Dallas is going to make any difference. So I'm taking a 1-0 at this. No, honestly, 2-0
loss.
2-0 loss.
Wow. Okay. So I do echo with that as well, but I think that, maybe just this team needed a really big kick in the ass, right? Even though, we felt cheated versus Colorado, right? We maybe could have grabbed the result versus Charlotte. We were just clearly outplayed. And then in this one, I think the players kind of know what kind of went wrong. So it's like, I feel like this one, right? 3 strikes, yeah, you're out. But then it's like, I think it's just a good learning curve. And I think, again, it's still very early in the season where it's like it's kind of good that we're kind of getting these tough moments out of the way. So it's like we can kind of react to them a little bit better. But, again, I think I'm kind of the more optimistic side of the SDFC bros.
Of course.
So I do think that we do come back in this one. I think we go back to winning ways. I'm going to say it's slim, right? No clean sheet, but I'm going to say a 2-1.
Crazy.
I'll say a 2-1. I think we get the W.
I don't even think we can score that many goals,
but what do you think, producer Jasmine?
I'm gonna say 0-0.
0-0. Okay, that's humble.
Yeah, that's actually
win, draw, and a loss.
Yeah.
Win, draw, and a loss. So, and I wanted to highlight this comment. Shout out to all_you_Ken. Brilliant comment, by the way. Away kits at home because we're miles off it. I thought that was brilliant.
100%. I think that can sum up everything we've said.
Yeah, certainly.
But you definitely need to start dropping comments in there. Yeah. We're gonna maybe do a comment of the week, best one.
If you drop a fire comment, then we'll highlight it and just shout you out.
Because at the end of the day, like we say, we are a voice for the fans, and that's all we want to be able to do.
All right. Well, I think that's it. So, guys, if you guys are new here, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on TikTok. And just get involved in the comment section below. Get involved in the Instagram comments as well. And, if you just want to talk or whatever, hit us in the DMs. But I know this is your kind of time, but I want to take it over, right?
Ahead.
So, listen, guys. This is not the time to panic, right? This is not the time to, sound off all the alarms. We have to stay focused and we have to stay locked into what the goal is. And at this point, the goal right now is to just get over this hump. And at this moment, the best thing that I could say right now is that we just have to look forward to the next game and we have to prepare properly. And regardless of, what, so-and-so says in press conference or whatever, the best thing that we can do right now is just support the badge right now and just support the city and support the team. And most importantly, we have to support the players that are on the pitch. Bottom line, right? Especially 100%. In a tough time that they're in right now, the best thing that we could do right now is just show our support and just go into these next couple matches really, playing our A game as a fan supporter, because there's a famous saying in football, the 12th man is the fans. 100%. So it's like we are the 12th man, and the better that we can do, then hopefully that can inspire the players on the pitch. So that's all I gotta say. But yeah, guys, like I said, if you guys are new here, like, comment, subscribe, check us out on Instagram, check us out on TikTok. And with that being said, we'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao ragazzi.